Welcome to Bandits Keep Actual Play. I'm Daniel. Well, we've logged a few sessions as the mapper, and I'm probably going to run multiple mappers as we go, but we'll deal with that as we go. But right now I want to get into adventuring parties so we can start getting into some of these dungeons. Now I said parties because I'm going to run this in kind of like a West Marches style. I mean, I'm not going to necessarily have the characters intermix, although I might, especially if parties lose characters. But I'm going to create, I think, 3 groups of adventurers. I started to do this with pencil and paper, which is really fun, but it became really difficult to video it. So we're going to use some online tools here. I'm going to create 3 different adventuring parties, at least the basic stats for them. Then I'll fill in the rest and I'll come back and I'll show you the finished parties at the end. But let's take a look at my computer screen. Okay, on the left here, we have a great site, ODD Reference Tools. I'll put a link to this in the show notes below. You can support the creator by buying them a coffee. Well worth it. It rolls for all kinds of good stuff, especially when you're playing. We probably may end up using this quite a bit. I usually have it logged up brought up on my iPad when I'm playing in person. So if I need a quick bandit lair or something like that would take a long time to roll up, I can do that. So same thing here. We can see that we have several, let me get my mouse over here. We can see that we have several things over here. One of them is stats. So if I roll stats, I'll get effectively a character. So strength 8, intelligence 13, wisdom 5, constitution 12, dexterity 6, X is charisma 11. So that's probably a magic user. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here. They have epithets. So I'm going to go epithet, the Iron Head, and then we're going to just go back and forth. I'll start female, then male, and we'll go back and forth on it. Romoltitila, the Iron Head, who is going to be my first magic user in the party. Now what I am going to do here is I should have done this first. I'm going to roll, each party is going to consist of 7 to 10 characters. 6 of them will be the main adventuring body. Then I'm going to roll a d4. The first 2 of those d4s, so if I roll a 1 or a 2, will be just pack handlers. And if I roll more than that, so let's say I roll 4, so I get 10, then the adventuring party itself will become bigger. So let's actually do that for this party. I'm going to roll 1d4, and I got a 4. Okay, so this party is going to consist of 10 people. Who is the pack handler? Who are the adventurers? I'll decide once I roll all the characters. And they're going to be pack handlers, not henchmen, meaning that they're going to explore overland with the party, but they're not going to go into the dungeon. Thus, I'm not going to worry about loyalty or anything like that right this second, and they're only going to get paid by the day. This is basically because when the group goes into the dungeon, I want to be able to send in at least 6 characters. I don't want to have to leave too many or anybody of the main adventuring body up top guarding the gear, because of course random encounters can happen. So let's get to this. So that's 1. So again, we're going to go stats, epithet, male. So we got some of these names I'm going to have to give shortenings to, but we'll just call this one Phila, the unique. They seem to be pretty average in every way, so they may end up being like an elf or a dwarf or a halfling or something like that. Although with the 7 dex, I probably won't make them a halfling. Okay, so stats, epithet, female name, the blue. Let's see, we've got a high wisdom, so that's and also charisma and dexterity, so that could be a good cleric. Let's go over here now. Stats, epithet, male name. I'm just going to repeat this a bunch of times. Okay, so now I have 10 characters. Basically, obviously there's no gear. They do have hit points and gold. I probably will use the gold, but not the hit points because I'm going to be using Chainmail. But this is my first party, so I'm just going to basically select all these, copy them. And over here, I just have my notebook. So party number 1. I think I'm going to come over here. Oh, strange capital going on there. We need a good name for the party. I think Don John has a party name generator, so I'll probably look at that. But for now, we'll start there. And we're going to then just reset the page. And I'll do the same thing I did before. Now, I'll point out that this generator does allow you to create like fighters. At first, I was going to do it this way, where you could come down here and hit like fighter level 1, which is what you do for NPCs. But you can see, actually, that worked out perfectly in the first example. Because it's rolling for NPCs, it's giving a chance of a magic item. And I don't want to start anybody with a magic item. I want to start from scratch like player characters would. So that's why I'm not using that, even though it does give you the name and it's a little bit faster. Okay, so we're going to, again, roll a d4. 1. Okay, so there's only going to be 7 characters, so basically 1 pack handler. I'll just reset it again. So 7 characters, and let's do it. Now, you might be saying, well, why do I even need stats for the pack handler? Well, because they may become PCs if need be, right? So this is just a simpler way to do it. for me anyways. And again, we have a whole group here. We've got somebody here with a 14 intelligence, or 14 constitution as well. But that's, look, wow, 17 charisma. That's really good. That's probably the leader of the party right there. And they've got the Lionheart that works. They're probably going to be a magic user, right? And then we've got somebody here with a 3 intelligence and only a 4 strength, 11 wisdom. That's a cleric. Not a very well learned from school or strong cleric, but a cleric nonetheless. We also have the Stout over here with the 16 wisdom, could also be a good cleric. So we'll determine what their classes are going to be once I get my 3 parties done up. And again, you can do this pretty quickly. Making OD&D characters, in fact, the longest process of making the characters is the equipment generation, which I'm going to have to do by hand, unfortunately. There are all kinds of different sites that allow you to do this. I've used a few before, but I find that this one is nice because for these characters, because I'm running them more like a unit than as a player running an individual character, I just find having just basic stats and gear is all I really need for them, at least at the beginning. The way that I run these solo games is a little bit more, I hate to say board gamey, but a little more procedural, I guess is maybe the right way to say it. I'm not overly worried about if, Wintha the Purple likes Gene the Drunkard or not. That's not going to be part of my game so much, at least not in the beginning. Okay, so let's do our 3rd party, and then we'll move on to the party names and then equipment. Okay, they also only have 1 extra person, so 7 again. Okay, I rolled 8 for this one. That's fine. I'm not going to worry about it. They can have 8. They're cheating a little bit. Okay, I jumped over to Donjon. Over here, we have this fantasy name generator, fantasy setting, and then under there is adventuring parties. You get all kinds of stuff, deities, ship names, books and tomes. So here's the adventuring party. There's, let's just reset it. Okay, so there's 10 here, and I'm just going to jump back over here. I'm going to roll a d10 since I don't have any actual dice out. Let's reset this. I'm just going to roll 3 of them so that we 6, 7, 8. That's easy. Okay, so the Wolves of Meepor is the first party. Ilin's Foxes. So Ilin might be the, could be a patron, or maybe I'll rename one of the characters of that, right? The Fangs of Piblof. Boom. Okay. So we have 3 parties. We have 3 party names. And then what I'm going to do now is I'll do this off camera. So, well, maybe I'll do it on camera. Might be interesting. Let's make these a little bigger. I'll at least do the first party. Let's see. Let's make this bigger so you guys can see it. Probably a little too big. I probably should have selected everything. Okay. So we've got Sobrin the Nice, and their highest score is intelligence. So that means to me that they should probably be a magic user. Then we've got the Prideful, high wisdom and con. That's going to be a cleric. Now I may change this based on our composition here. This one's pretty neutral. I find when they're neutral, the best bet is to make them a demi-human because they can't progress as far anyways, right? They're not terrible, and 7 con doesn't scream dwarf to me, so I'm going to make this an elf. Okay, and over here we've got 13 strength, so that's going to be a fighter. Over here we've got a 13 intelligence, that's a magic user. Over here we've got a... Okay, I have a 12 intelligence. I also have a 12 dex, and I always find that high dex is good for halflings because of the bonuses they get, but 12 is not quite all the way, so that might be another magic user. I know this party seems heavy in the magic users, so they got to be careful. Okay, here we've got somebody who's a 13 dex, but not necessarily high in the intelligence, so I'm going to make that a halfling. Or hobbit, because I don't want to get sued, so we'll keep him halfling. And actually, I'm playing OD&D, so really they are hobbits in this book, so we're going to call him hobbit, and hopefully we don't get shut down. Wisdom 13, dex 13, that could be a cleric or another halfling, depending on our setup. Over here, we've got a pretty neutral character. Let's make them a, well, I mean, they got a low con. They could just be sickly, I guess. Let's make them a fighter. Fighters are always good and generic. Although clerics do level up really quickly, which is nice. And here we have a high intelligence, so we have a magic user. Okay, so right now I've got magic user, let's see, 2, 3, 4 with the potential for the elf to be a magic user. Okay, so I have a lot of magic users. And I think that what I'm going to probably do is I want to make sure I have at least enough people who can fight. Okay, you know what? I think it's a pretty decent group. I don't think any of the demi-humans would be a good pick for an NPC, so I'm going to make the pack handlers. I'm going to take a couple of the magic users and make them the pack handlers. So let's see. Ironhead has 11 charisma. Okay, here's one with 5 charisma. Okay, so they're going to be a follower. Figure with the 5 charisma, you're not really a leader, right? And so they're going to have 2 followers. And the other magic user is a 10. Oh, yeah, that's not bad. And what about this one up here? 6. Okay, also a follower. Now, since the followers will not be going into the dungeon, the fact that they're magic users might not seem like it makes that big of a difference. But if they encounter somebody out in the wilderness, they will fight to defend themselves, of course. Okay, party number 2. This doesn't seem that bad, so we'll just do it all on camera. And then I'll do the equipment offline, though, because that's definitely going to be slow and tedious. Although I'll kind of run through how I decide the equipment and stuff as we go. I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit, I think, because I'm not going to worry too much about what things cost. Unless somebody has really low gold or really high gold, they're probably going to get the same gear. Like, I'm just going to keep it real simple. Like, I'm going to make an adventuring pack, basically. Okay. So here we only have 1 follower, but let's go through and get our characters. Okay, high score. This could be a cleric or a magic user, so let's see how this works out. I'll say /cleric. We'll decide basically on what we have. Okay, we got high dex. Yeah, okay. Unfortunately, strength is kind of low, which doesn't help the experience points gain, but I think halflings can only go up. Hobbits can only go to 4th level anyway, so that's a hobbit. Okay, we got a high... Yeah, here we have a really high wisdom. This is like bonus level wisdom, so that's definitely a cleric. At 15, you really get a good bonus. So I think at 13, you start getting a bonus. At 15 plus, you get a really good one. Here we have the drunkard. I feel like that's going to be a magic user. Over here, we've got high wisdom and dex. We'll make them a cleric for now. I might go with 2 hobbits in this party, actually. Might be fun. Yeah, I actually think this one might be a better hobbit than the other one. Cool. Over here, we've got high intelligence and high charisma. That's going to be a magic user and definitely the leader of the party. And over here, we've got also pretty high charisma. This is a charismatic party. Really low strength and intelligence. So this has got to be a cleric. So we might be a little bit cleric heavy in this party. Let's see. Cleric, magic user, fighter. Hobbits are fighters. Magic user, cleric, hobbit. Actually, to be honest, I think we're pretty balanced. I think I'll make this one... The person with the lowest charisma is going to be the follower. Wow, this is a very charismatic party. So actually, this hobbit right here is going to be a follower. So with that being the case, I think I'll make this person a cleric, not a magic user. So I have a little bit... if I can spell today. So I can have a little bit more muscle. Okay. Now, third party. You can see that, right? Third party is going to be the trembling. Okay. High charisma. All the other scores are equal, so I'm going to make them a magic user. I always like magic users to have high charisma because I feel like they're often the smart one in the party, or the front person that's going to talk versus a fighter that's going to be ready with their weapons. But here's another magic user, so I may change that. Here they have 2 camp followers, I think. The peacemaker has a high wisdom, so that's a cleric. Over here, we've got the Oathbreaker. That's never good. They are going to be, let's see, equal intelligence and wisdom, so I think, but low strength, so I'm going to make them a magic user, because that makes sense. Here, the powerful only has a 7 strength, but I think we got kind of a cleric carry party here. The sanguine. Ooh, okay. We need a fighter, so this is going to be a fighter. Actually, here's a good option for a dwarf. There's no rule about this, but I did feel like a dwarf with a low constitution doesn't really track for me. So here we have a kind of neutral in strength, in wisdom, and the intelligence is super low. So it's either a cleric or a fighter. And since dwarves can only be fighters, and my constitution is 11, which is average, I think that's okay. That works for me. Here we have strength is clearly the highest. That's going to be a fighter. And here we have the handsome. They have a low charisma. They're going to be a follower for sure. They're pretty neutral, so I'm going to make them a fighter as well. In fact, I think I'm going to go up and make this fighter here, the second fighter. I think I'm going to make them a dwarf as well. Why not have a little bit of a mixture of different races and stuff in here? And let's just take a quick look at the magic users to see if any of them want to be elves. This one's got a high dex. You know, I think I'm going to make this magic user here actually an elf, and they're probably going to start it because elves can be magic users and fighters. They can switch back and forth, and they'll likely start as a fighter so they don't die right away, and even though they only have a 5 strength. And then when we get a little bit of stuff that makes like a wand or something that makes it worthwhile for them to switch, then they will switch. Okay, that's our 3 parties. We have them statted up. We've got classes. I'm going to go in and kind of make them playable for me by adding equipment and writing down like their fights as and their defends as for chainmail. Get that all ready for play in this document. And then when I've got that, I will then show it again at the end of the video. So we'll cut away and I'll be back in a few minutes. So I got myself a little bit more organized here. I was looking for the Lost City, but I couldn't remember where I put it. But Palace of the Silver Princess, the green version anyways, has a similar thing where it has basically equipment packs. So I kind of looked and saw what they kind of recommended as packs. I put them together for myself. I removed a couple things, added a few things, calculated out the cost in OD&D, and came up with this. All right, on the right, we can see our equipment packs here. Pack A, backpack, large sack, lantern, 2 flasks oil, wineskin full, water skin full, 12 iron spikes, 50 foot of rope. A wineskin and water skin are the same thing, but the wineskin, I charge 2 gold pieces because it costs 1 for the skin and 1 for the wine. The water skin is just 1 gold piece because water's free. Clearly, this wasn't written in 2022 where you got to buy water. Anyways, pack B, 16 gold pieces. Backpack, 2 large sacks, 6 torches, 1 flask oil, 10-foot pole, or a small sack. I did that because just in case we have a poor party and everybody's buying this pack, I don't want them to have a ton of 10-foot poles. A 50-foot of rope, 2 water skins full. Pack C, backpack, 2 small sacks, 50 foot of rope, 12 iron spikes, steel mirror, wineskin, water skin, both full, wooden cross. Again, you don't need to be a cleric to use. In fact, in OD&D, you don't need to have a holy symbol to cast spells as a cleric. The wooden cross could be good for anybody, unlike in future editions where you want the holy symbol for your clerics. Wooden crosses are good for anybody who wants to fight vampires. Hopefully our first level party, though, will not encounter a vampire. And for flavor, I think most clerics will probably take this. Pack D is something I added myself. This is my own version of Thieves' Tools. So I've talked about this a little bit before, where I have a system where basically gear is how you solve problems. So the Thieves' Tools is a collection of this gear for 25 gold pieces. You don't need to be a thief. Anybody can use this if they have the kit. It consists of black gloves and mask, that's for hiding, skeleton keys for opening locks, metal file, wood chisel, small wire saw, small ball peen hammer. Those are all for disarming traps, basically, or other things they might need to do for. Hard leather cup for listening at doors, and it adds 1 in 6 to the chance of listening at doors. So normally humans have a 1 in 6, demi-humans have a 2 in 6. With this, it would be 2 and 3. So it's kind of useful for anybody who wants one of those. Now, to the left, you can see I have my parties here. I realize that using the economics of the mapper, that no first-level party would really be able to afford a map very easily. And instead of having them just wander out into the wilderness randomly, and I don't want to set this up with a home base, like a dungeon that everybody knows is there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to assume that each of these parties has a patron. So what the patron is going to do is they're going to provide the map, right, for the party, until the parties can afford their own maps. For that, though, they want half the treasure. And in addition to that, they want a selection of the magic items. Basically, if there's magic items found, they want 1. And that means if there's only 1 magic item found, the patrons are going to get it. And if there's multiple magic items, the patron will decide which one they want. And I'll do that randomly, so it's, since I don't really know what the patron wants at this moment. Now, as soon as the party can afford their own maps, then clearly they don't need to adventure with the patron. They don't necessarily have to accept the patron's offerings anymore. I will say, too, though, that even though they're only going to get to keep half the treasure from the adventure, they will get the full experience points if they can bring the treasure back to town. So with that being said, let's take a look at our parties. Since I started filling out the equipment already for the first party, and to not have confusion, I thought I'd show you party number 2 to start with. Then we'll go back and fill out the equipment. So I have our main party, which has basically their name listed over here. We've got the class, their level, the level title, what experience points they have, and whether or not they get a bonus to earned experience points. Then we have their hit dice, their hit points, what they fight as. That's weird. That cleric should not have 7 hit points. They should just have 6. What they fight as, in this case, a first level cleric fights as man if we're using chainmail. And they defend as, that's based on their armor, which I don't know yet because I don't have any armor yet. Then we have their stats here if that becomes relevant, which is not normally that relevant once you make your character. And wealth, right now, this is what they starting golds. G, right, for gold, 70. I'm going to list their movement and speed in inches, which will be 12 for most people, unless they have heavy armor on, and then their encumbrance. Yes, I am using encumbrance. I think it's important. If you're going to run a procedural game, you got to kind of use the procedures. And a lot of the things that people think about encumbrance, like that it's clunkier, it does this or that, we're going to try to dispel that a little bit during this series. But anyways, let's get to party number 1. Okay, back up at the top. We have the Wolves of Meepool. And we've got the first character, Jewel, that's already kind of filled out. They're a cleric, first level, just like before I was talking about. Their wealth, I've already calculated now. Oops, there's a spelling error there. They have 31 gold pieces left after purchasing the equipment, which is plate mail armor and a flail. And then they took, I believe, pack C, which is the one that has the wooden cross. And even with all that going on, they still have 31 gold pieces left. They started with a decent amount of money, so that's pretty good. Our next, so actually, let me do the encumbrance now, just to kind of show you how this works. So I'm going to go to, this is the PDF copy of OD&D, the first book that you can get from DriveThruRPG. There'll be a link in the show notes. But we're at the equipment section, and we can see the prices for all the equipment here. And if we come down here, we can see encumbrance. Now, what's cool about OD&D and what makes it really easy is that when you look at this line here, miscellaneous equipment, ropes, spikes, bags, etc., is 80. You don't have to calculate every single little bit of equipment. You know, if I was running a game within reason, if you want to carry 50 torches, all right, we're going to start talking. But for what most reasonable person can carry, it's just 80. It's always 80. You don't have to worry about it. It doesn't go up or down. It is what it is. So what's nice about that is all we have to do is take their armor, which they're wearing plate armor, and we look here, plate or horse armor weighs 750. We look at their weapons that they're carrying, in this case, a flail, which weighs 100, right? So that's 850. And then we add 80 to that, so that's 930. So their total encumbrance is 930. And what I normally do is, now they are carrying some gold too, but we're not going to worry about that right this second. What I normally do is I put their encumbrance based on their normal stuff they're carrying. That might change. Then I put a second number here, which is their encumbrance with anything additionally they're carrying, which will be 961 because they're carrying that 31 gold pieces, right? So basically, if they pick up 1,000 gold pieces, it goes up to 1961. I don't have to recalculate everything. I just keep adding to the same first number and I go down. I mean, if they change their armor or something, obviously it changes, but that's usually the weapons somebody's carrying and their armor is something that doesn't usually change. But if we look over here for our load, up to 750, they can move at 12 inches. Up to 1,000, which is where this person falls, they can move at 9 inches. So their movement is 9. Now, people have said that this doesn't really matter because you always move at the movement rate of the slowest person in the party. That is true when you're exploring, right? But if somebody wants to be sent ahead, if you're running from bad guys and stuff like that, it matters. So it does matter to know each one. You definitely want to know the slowest person, though, for your basic party movement. So let's go down to our next character. They are an elf. Now, what I've done with elves, since elves can choose to go out as fighters or magic users, I've bolded what they're going to adventure at for this first adventure. In this case, magic user. They didn't have enough money to buy good armor, so that didn't make sense to send them out as a fighter. So I gave them a spear because an elf can use any weapon. Even though a magic user can only use daggers, an elf can use any weapons because they are the OP class in OD&D. So they've got a spear, which is heavy foot. And then they have backpack, large sack, lantern, 2 flasks of oil, wineskin full, waterskin full, 12 iron spikes, 50 foot of rope. That is pack number 1, I believe. And what I'm doing here too, and I should make this clear, is that I'm leaving at least 15 gold pieces in everybody's stash because that's enough to buy rations. Notice I have no rations yet, but they're going to go out in the field. They're going to need rations, but I'm not buying those yet. Okay, so again, with this person, we can just look and say, well, they were in no armor, right? So that's 0 there. And all they're carrying is 80 plus, let's see, is a spear even on here? I guess it might fall under pole arms, although I feel like a pole arm would be a little bit lighter, more heavy, but let's just say that. So let's say their encumbrance is 150. Oh no, hold on, I didn't add the 80. So 230. And then with the gold, they're 262. And that makes their movement 12 inches. So they're lightly armored. If they are, if they see a bunch of orcs or they got to run back or something, they can move faster than the heavier armored people. So they're going to be able to hopefully get out of range faster and maybe even outrun some of the more powerful foes where the heavyweight fighters can stand forward. Okay, so let's go to our next person. This is a fighter, so they can wear any kind of armor. They can do anything. This is the clubfoot. They only have 80 gold pieces, though. And remember, they need to save at least 15 for the rations. So that means they really have 65 gold pieces. That's not a whole lot. If we go to our equipment kit over here, if I bought the cheapest equipment kit, that would knock them down to 49 gold pieces, which is not a whole lot, right? And you could say, well, maybe they don't need. And again, in a party, normal adventuring group, I might say, well, you know what? Maybe you don't want to buy. I mean, I've made fighters before that literally just have weapons and armor and no equipment. They just kind of, they say, hey, we'll stand up front, but we don't have rope and stuff. But in this case, I want to try to equip everybody if I can. So they've got 49 gold pieces left to buy stuff, which means they're not going to be able to get plate armor. They're going to have to get chain. So chain is 30, and they'll get a sword and a mace, which is going to give them a rounded fighting style. That way, if they fight something that a sword's not good against, right? So a sword and a mace, that's 15, so that's 45 they're spending there. So let's go ahead and add this to them. So we've got, I think I did that math right. If we go here and we go chain armor, and we go sword, which fights as heavy foot, and a mace, which works as heavy foot. You can also just do this. HF might be the better, easier way to do it, but I feel like writing the whole thing out also works. It kind of just depends on how you want to operate. One thing that this is not for me is a rush. I'm not going to do every single character, so you don't have to sit there forever. But, I'm typing it out. I'm having fun doing this. So, again, let me recalculate this. We have chain armor, a sword, and a mace. So that gives me a total of 45. And then 16 would be 55. 61 is being spent, which means that they have 19 gold pieces left. So now we can come over here again and look at our encumbrance. They are wearing chain armor, which is 500. They have a mace and a sword, which is 50 apiece. So that is only 600. And then general equipment, so 680. So their encumbrance is 680, and I'll add the gold. So this is all going to change when I buy rations because they're going to reduce the gold, but we'll say 680. And people are definitely going to take gold with them into the field. Now you might be wondering why I'm not buying shields. In Chainmail, especially using the troop combat, the shield doesn't come into play that much. In man-to-man it does, but fighting monsters, usually troop combat's more oftenly used, so I'm kind of playing the system a little bit here, especially for the people who don't have a lot of cash. Okay, so I think you get the idea. Let's just do one more. Okay, here we have a magic user. Now, a magic user doesn't really need much at all. They can't use any weapons besides a dagger. It's actually starting off with 110 gold. So this is the place where they can splurge a little bit. They're going to come over here and get the most expensive equipment pack, probably, which is the 26 with the lantern. And then they're also going to buy the thieves tools. That way we have all of this. So this magic user, before I do that though, they're going to get a dagger. That's all they can use for a weapon. Now, sometimes with magic users, I get the kit that does not have the lantern, even if they have the money, because The lantern, you know, is not as good of a weapon as as a torch would be. But I think my party is big enough that, you know, this magic user can just stand back if need be. Okay, so they're buying all this stuff. This is actually going to cost them 51 plus, let's see, plus what a dagger costs, which is not very much. So 54, right? So they've got 56 gold pieces left. Now, the other thing I'm not really worrying about here, because it's not really in OD&D as far as I can tell anyways, is there's not stuff like tents and things like that. That stuff's I'm just not going to worry about. We assume everybody has like a bedroll and a blanket and stuff for travel. And that's just not going to be factored into any of this. Now, though, with this being said, now what do I do here, right? They're just carrying a dagger, so their encumbrance is super low. The thieves' tools, even though it is a lot of stuff written down, most of the stuff is really tiny if you think about it. So I'm still going to consider it part of just regular encumbrance. So really, their encumbrance is just, I think a dagger is 20. So their encumbrance is only 100. Now, what's nice about this is, again, not only can they move faster, but that means they can also lug more treasure, right? The magic user isn't expected to be up front fighting. Like when the goblins attack, the fighters are going to get up front and fight. The magic user is going to have the sacks of gold on their back running out of the dungeon, right? That's basically what's going to go on there. Now, the other thing we can do here is, and there's also a spell book, which is the spell book listed as a weight? I think we're just going to include that. No, it's not. We're just going to include that as part of the stuff. I'm going to deal with spells as well. Let me do this, and I'm going to come back one more time to do the spells, just so we can have a complete party done, so you can see what it's like, and then we'll get to playing. I want to show you how I do spells now. So OD&D doesn't tell you how it works. Many people, because they come from a BX or whatever, they think, well, you start with one spell, right? Or something like that. So a lot of generators for OD&D characters just give you one spell. AD&D, you got, I think, 4 or 5 spells in your spellbook when you started. And so you could look at that, right? There's any number of ways of doing this. I think delving deeper, they give you the whole first level. The way I do it is elf magic users, that is, get 2d6 worth of spells. Human magic users get 3d6. So it's a little bit of an advantage being a human. They can choose any spells they want, basically from 1st to 3rd level, but they have to get an entire level's worth of spells before they can get the next one. So in other words, there's 8 first level spells in OD&D. If you don't roll better than 8, then you'll only have first level spells when you start. Everything else must be found or paid for in play. So let's jump over to my monitor and let's do it. All right. So again, I don't have any physical dice out with me right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, well, first of all, let me just show you, we'll just look at this one character, Scom the Enchanted. This is our elf that we're going to do. So as mentioned before, so you might notice I put a B in front of them. This is because when I'm going to do marching orders and stuff in the game, I want to know each character is going to be labeled basically with a letter. So Scom the Enchanter, which is B, he's going to be adventuring as a magic user. So he's level 1, he's a medium, he has no experience points. He's got 1 hit die, 6 hit points. He fights as man, and he defends as, this is something new added here, Lightfoot, LF, because he has no armor. He's got 32 gold pieces left. He fights with a spear. This is his gear. We already went over that. That's his movement. Because again, he's not wearing any armor and his encumbrance doesn't raise him over the limit. For spells, he can have he can only cast per day 1 first level spell. These dashes are the rest of the levels. Now, let's see what's in Scrum's spellbook. So I'm going to roll 2d6. And this is the total number of spells that they know. 7. Okay. So as I mentioned before, there are 8 first level spells. So he's going to basically get all but 1. So let's go over here and see what we don't want. Let's see. We've got, you can see that, right? Yep. We've got Detect Magic, Hold Portal, Read Magic, Read Languages, Protection from Evil, Light, Charm Person, Sleep. You know what? I'm just going to roll a d8 and see which one they don't have. So let's go 1d8. 3. All right. So spell number 3, they do not have. They do not have Read Magic. That means they're not going to be able to get any read from any magical scrolls until they learn that spell. But that's not the worst thing in the world, I suppose. Unless they run into a bunch of scrolls, I guess. Okay, let's do one more magic user just to show you how this works. Let's see. We have, okay, a human magic user down here. Their spellbook can consist of 3d6 worth of spells. So hopefully we'll get some second level spells going on here. 8. So no, they just get every first level spell, which again is not the end of the world. So there they are. They've got all 8 first level spells. Let's see, this is going pretty quick, so I'll just do one more. Now you might be saying, what about clerics? Well, clerics don't get spells until second level, and at that point, their church grants them a spell book, which gets 2d6 spells. It works exactly the same way, except they just don't get it right away. I use spell books. Clerics do not get every spell in my game. So we're going to do the Ironhead. He is also a human. So we're going to roll this, 3d6. 11, okay, so that's good. So they're going to actually get all of these spells here, because remember that this guy had every one of the first level spells. So I'm just going to copy this. And at this point, I guess I probably should have done this before. I'll write level 1. Nobody else had level 2 spells, so I didn't have to worry about it. And then we'll go level 2. So there's 8 level 1 spells, which means that if they got 11 spells, they can get 3 level 2 spells. You know, and again, I think I'm just going to go with the random thing. Let me just roll. Oh, hold on. How many are there? There's 10. Let me just roll three 10-sided dice. 8, 3, and 9. So that is Phantasmal Forces, which is one of my favorite spells. So that's very nice. Of course, I won't be able to use this right away. And 8 and 9 are ESP and Continual Light. Both really powerful spells. Second level spells are really great. Many spells are really great in OD&D. It's a really great system for magic users. All right, actually, the 2 camp followers are also magic users. So since I got you here. Oh, I want to point this out as well. These guys actually had the most money, which is kind of funny considering they're the followers. So, I mean, I guess the deal is that they're part of the, maybe they drew the short straws. So in this one, they don't get to go in the dungeon. So they're not sharing as much of the treasure, but they're still part of the group. So I actually had them buy some mules. The mules are going to allow them to carry a lot more weight. If we look at OD&D, I know I'm going into a different direction here, but if we look at this, it doesn't actually list how much a mule can carry, but I figure it has settled bags. They've got to be equivalent to at least 2 large sacks. So, or backpack. So I'm going to say saddlebags can hold at least 600 gold pieces worth of weight or coin, which is nice. So you're looking at an additional 1,200 gold pieces they're going to be able to carry with the mules, which is very, very good. Although, you know, thinking about that, a mule should, well, the sacks maybe can only hold that much. I'll have to think about that. Let me know in the comments if I'll probably already be moving on before then, but let me know what you think they should hold. Because part of me is now thinking when we look up here, it says the weight of a man is about 1,750 gold pieces. Well, a mule should be able to carry that. Now, I'm not saying the saddlebags hold as much as the weight of a man, but I'd say at least half that. So maybe saddlebags will hold 800. That might be a good way to do it. And maybe I'll look at some other systems and see what they say they hold, and we'll kind of figure that out from there. But in any case, let's just get some spells for these guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this over just to make my life easy. As you start to build up further into this, it's easy enough just to keep copying and pasting things. All right, so I got to remember, though, obviously, how many spells each person has. So the first person, again, they are a human magic user, so they're going to get 3d6 spells. They get 10, so that's cool. So we know that's everything. That's just 2 second level spells. So let's roll 2d10. They're going to get number 4 and number 9. Okay, cool. Let's go back to the spells. So I know number 4 is not one that we had before, so we got to see what that is. Locate object. That could be very useful. So they're going to get, and number 9 we know is continual light. Okay, then for our final magic user in this group, one reason why I'm making 3 groups all at once is because I do find that as you're kind of getting into it, especially with digital, it's much faster. It doesn't take like twice the amount of time to make 2 groups or 3 times the amount of time to make 3 groups. It takes probably maybe 1.5 to 2 times to make 3 groups. So it's definitely worth it for me to do it this way. And next time I do it, it'll take even less time because I can just copy and paste an entire group and, you know, it goes fast. Hopefully my 3 adventuring parties won't get wiped out that quickly though. Let's look at these spells. Okay, so our final human magic user, let's see what they've got for spells. 3d6, 12. Okay, good. So they get 4 spells from second level. So let's see what they are. 2, 4, 10, and 9. Wow, everybody's getting a continual light. All right, so 2 is levitate. That can be very useful. 4 is locate objects. So they don't get. What's the other one? 10 and 9. So 9 we know is continual light, and 10 is knock, which is very useful. So we will see if these characters get to a level where they can actually use these spells. And that's it. So this is what they got in their spell books. Now, the way it's written in OD&D is you have a spell book per level. So since they can't cast second level spells, they'll probably leave them back in town. You know, they're not going to carry with them a second level spell book. They're not going to level up when they're on the adventure, especially not these guys. So when they're traveling, they may or may not carry the spell books at all. I'll have to decide that. If they don't carry their spell books, they can't rememorize the spell, but they also don't take the risk of losing the spell book. So I'll have to calculate whether or not they want to take the spell books with them or not. I would say it depends on how far they're going into the wilderness. If they're going deeply into the wilderness, you know, there's going to be a multiple week journey, then they're definitely going to carry them. But if they think they can get in and out in a few days, then I might say they'll keep them at home rather than risk them. But we can decide that when we go to do the actual mapper game. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more like this. And also check the show notes. I'm going to have a link to all the stuff I'm using here, which is not much, but the stuff I'm using. I will also have a link to my Discord server where you can join up over there and chat about stuff. I'm probably going to have a room for this actual play, but I don't have one at this exact moment I'm doing the video because it's Christmas Eve and you're probably not going to see this until 1 or 2 weeks into January once I get everything edited. So hopefully when the actual play goes live, I will put a room up for that. Join the Discord. If you don't see a room there, then ask me, right? And also, you'll find a link to my Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel, that's much appreciated. In any case, though, I'll see you next time.